Hey guys, I decided to add a series about triggers just because an incident happened this weekend that is a perfect example, especially coming off of my banning word series on teamwork and how my ex-wife made me feel like I had an unhealthy view of what it was to work with other people or work on projects together. And so I wanted to discuss, in the aftermath of an abusive marriage, what it feels like when similar incidents come up with other people and how that affects me mentally, emotionally, and physically. So this weekend, I reached out to a friend on Friday and asked, what she was doing because I wanted to see if she wanted to hang out. And she's like, actually, I have a little project that I could use some help on. And I get a little anxiety about working with projects with people because of all the stuff that my ex-wife had put in my head about, not being healthy, don't know how to communicate with people and things like that. But, this is my friend, not my ex-wife. So I'm like, yeah, sure, I can definitely help you. And so I go over there to help her on this project. And I was like, I'm not going to lie, I'm feeling a little bit anxious because let me tell you this story of how I worked on a project with my ex-wife putting together an electric fireplace entertainment center thing. And I tell the story of how this electric fireplace insert came in like 150 pieces and really detailed instructions. It was very complicated, very heavy. And I tried to work on it with my ex-wife, and about 45 minutes, an hour in, she was just like done. We're fighting. She told me I didn't, know how to talk to her and communicate what I needed to get this project done. And so she was done. She fell asleep on the couch, and I finished this project on my own. It took me about 4 to 5 hours to get it done, but I got it done. It works perfect. I still have it to this day. It's in my living room. But I thought that this project was going to end our marriage. This was like early on in our marriage too. It was just such a horrible experience. So after I tell my friend this, she's very nervously laughing, and she goes to open the trunk of her car and she said, dude, don't freak out. Opens the trunk and it's a fireplace insert. So I see this electric fireplace insert and I wanted to explain what went on in my body, my mind, emotionally when I saw it. So first, I want to explain what happens to my body. So I feel immediate, overwhelming anxiety. And so anxiety in my body starts in my chest. I feel my chest get really, really, really tight. So tight that it almost starts to feel sore in a way. Like if I rub it, it will feel better, kind of a sore. But I know that's not true, and it's on the inside, and there's no amount of, rubbing on the outside of my body that will fix the tightening in my chest. But that's kind of what it feels like. And then it will start there and move up into the base of my throat to where I'll feel like I have this like lump in my throat that I just can't get rid of. It'll then the tightness will move into my neck to the base of my skull, and I'll start to get a really bad headache if I'm feeling this for a prolonged amount of time. But that's what anxiety feels like to me in my body. The reason I wanted to explain this in such detail is because I feel like through my entire marriage, my body was rejecting my ex-wife for a really long time, and I just ignored it. I ignored it to the point where I got so physically ill that I was literally dying. Like my health was so terrible that I was dying. And so now I feel like it's super important to get in tune with my body more and listen to it, because I feel like it's my subconscious is noticing something or recognizing something that I can't see yet. And so I try to pay attention to those, my body talking to me more so than I ever have. So that's how I feel when I see this box in my body. Mentally and emotionally, I feel like this is going to make or break my friendship. I might not have a friend after this. And I know that seems crazy, but I really thought that. I also felt like if we don't work well on this project together, it is clearly my fault. And everything that my ex-wife has said about me is correct. which is a horrifying thought that she would be right about this, and that I was just a terrible wife all along. So I'm experiencing all these feelings, all this fear. I'm feeling all this anxiety in my body. And my initial instinct is to be like, run, do not do this, preserve your friendship, and just walk away. But in order to change how my body reacts to circumstances like this, I know that I have to work through them. And so when these things come up with other people, you just have to hope or trust that your friendship is a safe place, that you can work through these triggers with them. And so I was like, we're going to do this. We're going to work through this, and we're going to get this thing put together. So here is me looking at the initial directions and how big this project really was. These are all the teeny tiny pieces that you need, the hundreds of pieces to put this entire thing together. But my friend was super patient with me. She let me read off every single package, and she marked it off to make sure we had everything. We also organized all the big pieces into like matching sets, and just to make sure it was easier to find things later as we're putting it together. At one point, her wife had even sent her the directions online. So she had a set of directions. I had a set of directions. So when we did start putting, bolts in and the cam locks in and things like that, we kind of just, like, I would take A, B, and C, and she would take D, E, and F, and we would work on them simultaneously. If we ever had a question, nobody got angry with each other. We would ask each other for a second opinion, make sure we were doing it correct. And there was no arguing, no fighting. You can see here, now we're finally getting it set up. We got the other top piece back on. And once we got the insert in and the doors on, it was complete. And as you can see, it works. It looks great. And we're still friends. So I can't stress enough just how important these moments are to somebody who's gone through mental and emotional abuse, because abuse affects you on a neurological level. And so being able to work with somebody that you trust to repair some of that neurological damage is incredibly important to the healing process. So I appreciate it so much. Hey guys, so I wanted to do a video today on triggers. I haven't done a trigger video for a while, so I wanted to do one today. And today I'm going to talk about my triggers surrounding taste in music. And you're probably wondering, like, what? Why would you have a trigger on this? I'll tell you. So me and my ex-wife had completely opposite tastes in music, which, is fine. Like, who cares? But this became an issue in our marriage, okay? So the reason, I like popular music, okay? I just like regular pop music that they play on the radio, that everybody knows, and you can play on the guitar easy, okay? Whatever, come at me, I don't care. But that's the kind of music I like. I'll tell you why I like this music, actually, or why I think I like this music. But growing up, my parents had, I've mentioned this in other videos, my parents had a shitty marriage, okay? They fought a lot. My mom was very mentally, emotionally abusive. My dad was physically abusive. They clashed and they fought. And a lot of times they fought at night when us kids were trying to go to sleep to get up for school the next day. But, it's really hard to sleep when your parents are destroying the house on the other side of the door. So I would always turn my radio on, which was my alarm clock too, turn my radio on to help drown out the fighting. Okay? So as far back as I can remember, I have always gone to sleep listening to the radio. And that's probably why I like radio pop music. Okay? So, of course, when we were dating early on, and she would stay over and stuff, or I would stay over, I listened to my music at night to go to sleep. That's how I've always been. And so she would always give me shit about liking pop music. I don't care. She's not the only one. I've had friends who do the same thing. It is what it is. I don't care if you don't like my music. Okay? But that's
that's how she knew what kind of music I liked. So she would always give me shit, but when we were dating early on, I kind of wanted to impress her, and so I asked her, well, who's your favorite, band or artist? Because I kind of wanted to learn a song from them and play it on my guitar and sing it to her. And so she told me that her favorite artist was Ani DeFranco. All right, I know this makes me a bad gay, but like I know Ani DeFranco is like this big LGBTQ icon in the music world or whatever, blah blah blah. She's not popular music, so I just never listened to her. I wasn't like, objecting to listen to her. So I start researching Ani DeFranco to try to find a song to sing and play for my ex-wife to impress her. And I couldn't find one, okay? I dislike Ani DeFranco's music, like, a lot. And so I never told her this. I never told her I was trying to do this or whatever. And so I just never said anything. Whatever, it's her own taste in music. But then we took a trip to Iowa to go visit my sister, and it was like a 10-hour drive. And the rule that I've always lived by is if you're the one driving, you get to play your music. So I drove the first half of the trip, and I played my radio music. Now, although I didn't, I guess, tell her this, and she never really asked, but like she didn't have to listen to it. She could have put her headphones in and listened to her own music or a book or whatever. I didn't care. But then when we switched places and she was going to drive, she puts on Ani DeFranco. And I was like, I cannot listen to this. So I was like, hey, I'm just going to put my headphones in and listen to my own thing. And she's like, what? Why? And I was like, well, I don't really, I know I've never told you this before, but I don't actually really like Ani DeFranco. I don't like her music. And she's like, what? Well, I had to listen to your shitty music. And so I'm like, I'm a little offended, but then I'm like, okay, whatever. This is just something she does. She makes fun of me, my music. We're banter. This is the banter that we have. And I was just like, well, my music is popular for a reason. People actually listen to the music I listen to. Nobody listens to Ani DeFranco. And woo, that was the wrong thing to say. I upset her so much. I mean, she started yelling at me and tell me like how I don't have good taste in music, blah, blah, blah. And then gave me the silent treatment the rest of the car ride. So like 5 fucking hours of this, like silent treatment. Okay. Now this was triggering to me in a few ways because one, this is something my mom always did. If my dad upset her on a car trip, the silent treatment the whole ride, it was awkward. It was uncomfortable. And so, this is like, this was something I was like kind of used to, but was like upsetting. So anyways, now music is an issue. So after this, because now she didn't feel comfortable playing Ani DeFranco around me, she didn't think that she had to listen to my music. So I was no longer allowed to play my music at night to go to sleep. And so my entire marriage, I never played my music at night. And it was tough. So this became this huge issue in fights in our marriage. And so we just like never played music around each other very much. And so then now, trying to work through these triggers later, I didn't realize this was a huge issue until the first time it came up. I was actually texting Cece, so the wife of the woman my ex-wife had an affair with. I was texting her some of my early TikTok videos that I started, and on one of them there was a mashup of like the Spice Girls and Disturbed. And I was like, hey, how did you like that mashup? Were you ever a fan of the Spice Girls? And she was like, no, I don't really like popular music. And I like, oh, well, what kind of music do you like? And I wanted to be like, do you like, shitty, you like the shitty music, right? And suddenly was just overwhelmed with anxiety. And I was just like, oh my gosh, like my chest hurts, like I'm feeling it in my neck. And I was like, what is going on here? And I realized like, this is a trigger because of this ongoing fight that I had with my ex-wife about music. And so again, I'm trying not to shy away from triggers. I'm trying to rebuild the positive neurological pathways now to replace the negative ones. And so I text her, I go, I want to give you shit right now, and I want you to feel free to give me shit about music or whatever. But I'm having a lot of anxiety about this. Like, this is my ex-wife trigger. And that I just want to tell you what I'm feeling right now. And she's like, your ex-wife was triggered by pop music? I was like, yeah, kind of. But I told her the whole story, and she's like, well, yeah, I don't really like popular music, but I'm just joking with you. Like, you can joke with me. Everything is fine. I'm not upset. And I was like, immediately anxiety gone, and everything was fine. But that was like the first moment that I realized like my body physically reacting to this particular trigger, and I was able to work through it. And now, ever since then, anybody that I meet, anybody that I talk to, especially anybody new, I try to force myself to talk about music in some way and ask them, what their taste in music is, and share that about myself, because I'm trying to build a new positive pathway. But that's just the story I wanted to tell about my trigger around music. And if you've made it this far, I will say this. I think Ani DeFranco is objectively shitty, and I will die on that hill.